he's okay. I think we're about ready to get started. Appreciate all of you being here with us this morning. Sure Les will be wandering through here in just a moment. Probably went to get his coffee since June doesn't get it for him. But it is good to see everyone this morning. As was mentioned, the decorations back here are beautiful as always, and we certainly appreciate all those who help bring that about, and for us to be able to enjoy that and to kind of set the tone for the next few weeks. We're going to be continuing in our study on Genesis. Morning. Just your mic's over there somewhere. So.
Thank you.
Okay, I was just talking about the fact you still have to get your own coffee. Yeah. But this is actually, I guess it's actually my last Sunday to teach, at least in December, because I'm out of town next week, and then the week after that there's no class, and the week after that there's no class, and then after that we're into January. So
And it's on.
But I believe that's right anyway, and I don't know what's going on after January. Do you? Or?
I only preach here.
You only preach here?
Yeah, I only
Okay.
preach here.
They don't keep you up to date with anything else, right?
They don't. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, let me join Lee in saying hi. And we are in Genesis 13 and 14, finishing up 13 and then jumping into 14, and just some incredible stuff going on. Of course, for those of us who are geeks, Bible geeks, is always incredible stuff. We can study the book of Leviticus and make it incredible. Most people look at us and like, you're kidding me, right? I'm reminded, at least several years ago, I announced on a Sunday morning at the beginning of the year that I was going to preach through the minor prophets that year. And one of the sisters in the church came up to me and she said, I am leaving and going to another church for a whole year. I am not sitting here and listening to a year's worth of sermons on stuff that doesn't matter. And I'm like, all right. Here's some churches that are accepting members right now, Yeah. But she didn't leave. She stayed, and at the end of the year, she thanked me for the series because she's like, I didn't know that about the books. And of course, that's true oftentimes for all of us. If we got into the text, as William said this morning, the wonder of the text is astonishing.
Yeah, it brings. I think the more that we're able to get into it, the more it brings it to life, so to speak, and we're able to see things just as we've been looking in Genesis. You see things you don't realize is there until you really start to delve more deeply into it, and it just makes it even more amazing about what God put together.
Yeah. So, real quick review from where we were. In our last lesson, you've got the battle that takes place between the five kings of basically the Tigris-Euphrates Valley. The five kings of the valley there, Jordan Valley, against the four kings of the Tigris-Euphrates Valley. These are basically raiding parties, okay? These are not armies like we imagine today or that developed later. These are armies that would have been thousands in numbers, but not tens and tens and tens of thousands. We're not talking about 100,000 soldiers invading the land. You're talking about several thousand, though, and these battles that take place. And again, they're raiding parties. They're going in and they're just basically getting rich by stealing off of other little city-states. And these are all city-states. When you see these names king, you need to realize that a better translation of that would be mayor. In other words, the mayor of Hendersonville and the mayor of Gallatin and the mayor of White House attacked Joelton and Whites Creek, and that's kind of what's going on. These are not Ukraine-Russia war. This is much smaller, and its purpose is to get slaves, food, clothing, basically to enrich themselves, and, if possible, to force them to go into taxation.
Yeah, and the term raiding party is really good because it is very much get in and get out.
Yes.
It wasn't like you were going in and then just conquering as far as staying, not like what some of the later, obviously, large nations, did. This was very much more kind of get in and get back out.
Yes. And so notice Abram heard that Lot had been captured. He calls out his 318 trained men born in his household, went in pursuit as far as Dan. He's got allies who have gone with him. And so you need to realize that Abraham, or Abram as he's known right now, his clan is huge. I mean, these are trained fighting men. You multiply that by their wives, by their children, and Abraham, as he moved in the land, you can see now why he and Lot had to split up. Because the people living with them is a large number. Abraham several thousand, Lot perhaps several thousand. And as they're moving with their flocks and their herds, it takes a lot of room for them to spread out.
And then you also had other groups of people who were living there too, which
absolutely
just compounds the situation.
You've got the city-states like Sodom and Gomorrah and the villages around them, which were loyal to them. And then you've got these nomads that are coming through, and Abraham is among those. And so the battles all take place here in the valley. This raiding party had gone all the way down into northern Egypt, evidently, and then they're heading north, and they get just above Damascus, and that's where Abraham captures them. And he divides his men. We talked about this last week. They conquer them. They get everybody back, including Lot and his wife and children, all the possessions, and they head back toward where they were living. And as they were heading back, the king of Sodom comes out to meet them.
Yep.
And this is where we get the interesting exchange between them, as well as Melchizedek. So two kings that come out, one righteous, one wicked.
Yeah, the contrast between the two is striking as far as the difference of the type of people they were, the type of men they were, and the fact that as we see, Melchizedek, he's a believer in God and is motivated as such, whereas the king of Sodom is motivated purely from evil purposes.
Yeah, and very, very much. One of the things going back to Melchizedek that we mentioned last week is that Melchizedek is going to serve as a kind of a prophetic figure for Jesus himself. Psalm 110, verse 4, the Lord has sworn and will not change his mind. You're a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. This is the fourth verse of the 110th Psalm, of which the first verse is the most often quoted verse of the Old Testament in the New Testament. Okay, Psalm 110, verse 1 is quoted, referred to more often almost every book, not every one, but almost every one of the books in the New Testament. And of course, it begins with these words, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. And of course, it's that verse, Lee, that Jesus stumped the religious leaders with. He said, whose son is the